Concrete is determining the slab depth from the calculations that we provide at the design stage that the engineers or architects will determine at the beginning of specification at your tender stage. So we'll always follow in their footsteps and we'll offer the same slab depth that they've designed and the mesh content. Sometimes we can calculate a lighter mesh, sometimes we can show those calculations to the engineer architect for their approval to see the performance of the decking, and they'll match it with the behind the scenes designs that they're trying to achieve in terms of slab weights, fire ratings, acoustic values that all affect the diaphragm action of the building and the weight overall of the building down into the foundations. So they do need input on dictating our alternatives that we might offer you to save you money overall on the structural slab design. And we've done it many times where an engineer has offered an A393 mesh and we've run a calc based on the structure support, the spans required, the slab depth required, and we've come up with an A252 mesh or an A193 mesh, which is obviously a lot lighter and cheaper overall. So over a space of 100 square metres to 1,000 square metres, that is a significant saving you can make by talking to us and giving us the opportunity to run calcs which considers the imposed loadings, the fire rating, the diaphragm action and shear force conditions, and all of that data goes into a report that then the engineer can consider whether that matches and works with the design for the rest of the structure that they've designed and put together for you. So in terms of the type of concrete that you use, notoriously the majority of the time you would use a C32 to C35 grade concrete. The slump would be a minimum of an S3. You usually use a pump the concrete out into the floor space that you're pumping onto, between S3 and S4. Aggregate can be between 10 to 25 mil. It depends on the BS class of 500 that you've got to adhere to in design, but this is all determined before we get underway with ordering concrete to site. You can use mesh or fibre. Decking companies have tested the fibre specific brand with their specific flooring, so if you are using fibre, just check with us to make sure that you're using the correct brand that has been tested and certified with that particular floor deck brand. Alright, read the literature that's below on this page just to help you understand why and what that is. Also, all of the British standards that are required for concrete slabs on composite floor decks is all below as well, so you can read your heart's content. So when you're pouring the concrete onto your slab floor space, please obviously use the correct chairs to sit the mesh on and tie that mesh together to the chairs to make sure it doesn't move when you're pouring the concrete. The slump S3, S4 will be runny enough for you to push it in from the corner, so you're pouring it onto the structure support, not mid-span of the profile. Push it on from the corner and across the floor and spread it up to the edge trim height, and then tamp it down, and then your finishes will be either latex or screed, or you will power float it to finish. The rule of thumb is to have at least 25 to 30 mil space from the surface of the concrete to the top of the mesh to give it the required effect that it's designed for.